The market pushes higher off support as expected. When will the bulls stop? This is Invest with Jacob. Okay, guys, so in yesterday's video, we talked about the market pulling back into the 4260s area and then holding support and pushing up over 4300, and that's exactly what we saw. The market held 4260s and then started to push higher, closing near 4300 at the end of the day. Now the question is, how high can the bulls take it? I'll get to that in just 1 second, but first, if you're new here, welcome to the show, guys. My name is Jacob Gabbard, and this is Invest with Jacob, where we use Elliott Wave Theory to break down the SP 500 and the NASDAQ. I highly encourage you to hit that subscribe button down below so that you can get our daily S&P updates, our trade setups, and our buy alerts. All right, guys, so before we jump into the analysis, as always, I like to share positive feedback from the room. We are doing very well on this choppy market. We're just scalping longs, waiting for this market to turn over, and until it does, we'll just keep collecting and winning. So if you want to be part of a winning team, stay tuned for later in the video. For now, let's jump into the chart and take a look. Okay, guys, so here we are on the 1 day or the daily futures chart. I zoomed out a little bit. People like the big picture view. I think I'll do this 1 or 2 times a week. I don't do it too often because it just doesn't change that often. So in the big picture, things are going as planned. Okay, we did top over here in January. We were looking for it to hold a higher wave 4, but they broke through support. So now we're looking at this as an A wave to the downside. Okay, we got our A, B, and then we got this wave 4 bounce that made this a diagonal. Anyway, we got the A wave down, okay? And then I told you we should be looking for an ABC type move up towards 4,300. And the reason for that is if you draw from the top to the bottom, the 618 comes in at 4312, and that is the most common B wave target. We're essentially right at that level now and chopping. So the market is trying to figure out if it's going to try to push higher here, which it can push a little bit higher, or if it's going to roll over and start to fall. So overall, this is a pretty important spot for the market. Now, after this ABC, okay, that gives us our B wave. We would expect a C wave down. And I told you last October that that C wave should target the 2,500 to 3,000 range. And the way I came up with those numbers is that is the 1.0 extension and 1382 extension of the A wave. Very common targets, as is the 1236, which would fall in between that range. So 2,500 to 3,000, that's how we come up with our C wave target. And that's what we'd be looking for next. Now, we would be looking for a 5-wave decline that breaks this blue box right here at 3,800. Okay, you look for that into this area, and then we look for a bigger B wave bounce. Now, that's a topic for another day. I don't have time to get into that too heavily, but I would consider this move down into the 2000s only the A wave of the overall market. I would expect, if we play this out, this correction to be about a decade or longer. It is a degree bigger than the correction we experienced from 2001 to 2009, which was about a decade long. And this is a bigger correction, so you'd expect it to be at least the same length, if not longer. So it is something to pay attention to. There is, of course, an alternate count, and that alternate count looks like this. It would be that the ABC completed here, and we're done. You have wave 1 up, wave 2 down, 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and we'd be breaking out in 3 of 3. Now, that would target the 5,200 area. I am not a fan of that count because this does not look impulsive at all, this A wave. This wave 1 of 3 is not impulsive either. And so without impulsive waves in here and also without the correct depth, I do have a bunch of skepticism of that particular alternate count playing out. However, what I prefer as the alternate count would be that this is going to be wave 1 in a diagonal. Then you'd look for a pretty deep wave 2 back into this 3,800 box, and that's why we talked about that 5-wave structure. Okay, if it's going to be an impulse, if we're going to go back to all-time highs, then you would look for an ABC down into this blue box, and then you'd come back and take out whatever high we make over here, and that would be extremely bullish and likely taking us back to all-time highs. So I'm not a big fan of us being already in wave 3. I think we need at least a reset back to the 3,800 box at a minimum, and that is because a lot of indicators are overcooked. A lot of MACDs are well past their resistance zone or at their resistance zone, and when you see that, you almost always see the market roll over. So as it stands right now, the primary count is this ABC up and then this C wave down unless the bulls can prove otherwise. So that's the big picture look. That's kind of how we're looking at this in a bigger picture. Let's zoom in and take a look at the micro counts. Okay, from a short-term perspective, what we're looking for, guys, we did get a nice 5-wave move up that does look like a wave 1 and then a pullback. It was a pretty shallow pullback, so I'm a little skeptical that it's all of wave 2. I'd like to see them pull back a little more towards the 4280 area, but I'm not going to argue with price if they break out. Then we would look for a move up toward 4330 to 40, one more pullback, and then 4350 to 60, possibly as high as 4370 to complete wave 5, which should complete a host of things, but mostly that bigger wave B we just talked about, where we'd look for the market to start its down move, and then at that point, we would want to see if it's going to be either a 3-wave or 5-wave structure. Don't get ahead of this too far. They can still push this higher. They can grind it up here for a while. If you're going to try to get ahead of this short, you should give yourself a ton of time, okay? But they can still, for the next few weeks, give us this kind of push up into the 4400 area, as high as 4400, I think, without having to pull back. So even though things are extended, and even though we are at the 618, there is still a setup for higher, so I wouldn't try to get too far ahead of this move. Now, that being said, as I just said, we are basically at the 618 at 4312, okay? So it is possible we are trying to kind of put in a topping formation up here, where we might spike one more high up toward that 4312 area, possibly 4320 or so. You're going to see it with the contract roll. Again, ignore that gap up. But we might see one more spike high and then down. That's why it's really precarious to have any kind of long-term long up here, because it is such a heavy resistance zone and a zone where we would expect the market to turn over. So we are scalping short-term longs and waiting for the turnover, and then once we see that, we'll understand the paths a little bit better. Over on the NASDAQ, okay, we'll be a little bit more brief on the NASDAQ big picture. This is the daily NASDAQ in the sense that you understand now where I got these numbers. 618 on the NASDAQ is the 14,389 area, which we've obviously pushed through. I've talked about it several times over the last few weeks, that area being important. They can push up a little bit higher to complete this move into the 14.7 to 14.9 area that I've also been talking about over the last couple of weeks. But we would expect the NASDAQ to start to pull back somewhere in this range. They can push a little bit higher in that final 5th wave that we'll talk about when we drill in. But overall, we're looking for them to complete the ABC we talked about all the way back here, which they've gotten to the target and now exceeded it just a little bit. And again, same way with the C wave down, we look for the 1.0 down to the 1382. So the 8,000 down to the 6,000 region on the NASDAQ, just depending on how far or how deep they want to push. So the NASDAQ does have some serious downside ahead of it if it's going to follow this path. Again, off the top, you would want to see the pattern play out as a 5-wave pattern. If you get that, if this is a 5-wave move down and a bounce, then we should expect pretty strong selling down into this area. If it's a 3-wave pattern that comes back and holds into the 12,000 range down here, right across this 12,000, 11,500 range, okay, and we come back and take out whatever high we make, then it's very likely we're going to all-time highs targeting the 18 to 19,000 region. So same type of look on the big picture of the NASDAQ. My primary is that we're coming down into this C wave. However, I will adjust that primary if they were able to hold support and give us an impulsive bounce up out of there. As we drill down into the NASDAQ, the NASDAQ looked like it was just completing its 5th wave up here at the close, right before they closed. They still got a few minutes of after hours trading. So it does look like it's trying to complete its 5th wave up. So you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I told you ES should pull back more towards the 4280 zone. So I'm guessing if NASDAQ is going to pull back off of here, we would look for ES to pull back towards that 4280 zone as well. NASDAQ should target around the 14,391, 14,321 area. And then they would push with a target of 14,956 overall. A break to the upside, if this was wave 2, a break to the upside would be 14,628 would be a strong indication that we're on our way in wave 3 up, and then overall towards that 14,950 area. So in the short term, NASDAQ does still have some room to push to the high side, but overall we would expect it to go, overall we do expect it to be turning over in this area. And then on the flip side, we could see them break this 14,250 level, which they did hold on to by a few points, and move down into that 13,800 level, which would be the next level of support for the NASDAQ. Guys, if you love the information that I put out in these videos and you want real-time market updates from me, you need to check out investwithjacob.com. There's a link down in the description. Go ahead and click that link. It will take you right over to the website. Once you're there, check out our membership plans area. We have 2 incredible plans, and then we have our Elliott Wave for Beginners course. Now, to be clear, this course does come with both of our memberships. However, if you're not wanting to become a member, but you do want to learn Elliott Wave, this course is for you. It's for anyone who has tried to study Elliott Wave but didn't get it, or needed help, or wanted a very clear breakdown of how Elliott Wave works from the beginning. Okay, and it is a beginner's course, so we don't get quite into some advanced material, but it's an outstanding course. 25 videos, you can see it right here. I go over the introduction, all of my chart setup, the entire setup, every tool I use, and how to use it with Elliott Wave, and that's the difference. Most people are just trying to use Elliott Wave. There are tools you need with it to confirm what you're looking at. That is the difference maker. And then, of course, the Elliott Wave videos down here where I go over everything you need to know. So if you just want the course, you can do that at $67 one time, and then you can have access to the course. However, if you want to become a monthly member and get all of my updates, in our first room, the Invest with Jacob room, you get all of my real-time market updates, all of my buy and sell alerts, all of your Elliott Wave questions answered, a midday video where I go over exactly where we are in the count and what to expect, as well as that training material you just saw. We trade the SPY and the QQQ, and we swing trade, which means our trades can last anywhere from a few days to a few months, so we don't trade quite as often as a day trading room does. However, if you are looking for day trading as well as individual stocks, you need to check out PT's Throne Room. In there, you get everything you get in the Invest with Jacob room, as well as day trading, individual stocks, and PT's reduced risk binary method that just crushes the market. He gets you in at a cheap price and gets you big multiples on your money, and it's how he structures the trade that's so unique. Something you kind of have to see to understand, and that's another reason we give you that 7-day free trial. He also started a challenge account where he put $4,000 into an account, averaging 3 to 4% gains per week, showing you how to build a small account into a large retirement or savings account. Guys, we would love to have you in these rooms so we can all make money together. Key takeaways for today. Okay, we're looking for a move up to break out. We may see a quick pullback toward the 4280 area to give that pullback we talked about with the NASDAQ, and then a push higher, but we would expect to push up toward the 4330 to 40 area, and then one more pullback, and then a completion of the move up around 4350 to 70 if the bulls are going to take this last path. However, anytime we make a new high, it is important to watch what kind of structure we get, because a 5-wave move to the downside could start a sell-off. Over on the NASDAQ, same type of situation. They may just have completed their 5 up, so they may pull back in conjunction with ES right here. They would be looking for 14,391 to 14,360 to hold, and then pushing higher, breaking out over 14,628 to give you an idea that they're on their way up toward the 14,956 level. However, if they do break below this 14,250 area, we would have to keep an eye on it down towards the 13,800 area as a potential bigger wave 2 of the move down. Guys, it's the weekend. Grab yourself a drink, get out of your house, spend some time with your family, and I will talk to you next week.